Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 10 versus 10 on Twin Cities, and I'm going to be playing with the new Østre Landsdelskommando. This is a Danish division that was added in the latest Landsdelskommando DLC. But as you can see, things are already underway, and today I have for you an extremely epic game. This was incredible, one that you must stick around and watch. The Throymen moving in. These are some Danish special forces. They got the Carl Gustaf and the Satchel. They're being dropped in with the Lynx. We got some Alaros that just about managed to dodge the fire that was placed on the road. These have the SCP-ELK inside, which are some Danish special forces with anti-air launchers. So we got the Red Eye and the Smoke Grenade there. These guys have special forces, airborne and GSR trait. The Throymen, they have the special forces shock trait. So we're getting all of those up early to take positions, make sure we don't lose too much ground in this city on the left-hand side, which for those of you who have been around on the channel for a while will know I absolutely love fighting over this town. It is so cool. I guess Bird City, not town. But the rockets flying in from the back of the map, one of our teammates with the Lars just pounding the enemy as they come in. Those Lars-like rockets not really doing too much damage though, as the Modschützen get through pretty simply with the SBW PSH and the SBW 70s. The flames continue to land as the rockets pile in, and well, these flames are only a taste of what you're about to see in this city throughout the game. I got a bunch of Bedfords here. These have the engineers with the Carl Gustaf HE. We've also got some military police, so that we have the military police trait. What that's going to do is help with our cohesion, so it's going to basically lower the amount of cohesion loss we have and help them recover more, so that's really handy. We've also got a couple of 40mm Bofors that are here to help with helicopters, so setting up the line. I've also got my two Itos on the back side here, and I'll be moving them up shortly. Just trying to wait and see the lay of the land after all of this artillery comes down. Putting these sort of smaller squads forwards whilst these flames are about is not a good idea, as they will get melted very, very quickly indeed. But the engineers, they're now starting to move up, and the introduction of the Carl Gustaf with the HE rounds is really cool. Big fan of these kinds of squads. They've also been added to the Canadians, I think, as well. A lot of like retroactive changes to older divisions in this DLC, which I really like. So definitely worth checking out. Even if you haven't bought this DLC, there will still be plenty of changes to look forward to, especially with the artillery rework that also came in, that is still being adjusted, where now artillery units have setup times and also like unpack times, so they have to, you know, take down the artillery and then they're stuck in position before they move, which makes counter battery more viable. A nice bombing strike coming in there from Commissar's Canberra. Really awesome British bomber being used to land those HE bombs on target. So military police sitting here waiting for the movement, but Eagle meanwhile pounding the enemy with the mortars. Mortars in the latest update now only take 15 seconds to pack up, so a little less vulnerable to counter battery than they used to be, which is nice, because basically the way that the artillery rework is, the longer it takes your artillery to fire a salvo, the more likely it is for them to be counter batteried. So with mortars it can take them a while to fire off, like 5 rounds for example, which is their salvo length, and therefore if you are just doing an attack or fire position order then plus a move order, they might still get hit, so you might only want to fire like 2 or 3 and then move, so that you have a little bit of time to escape from that counter battery if you are coming under attack. But usually mortars don't get counter batteried immediately, especially in like big team games like this. And yeah, as you can see, battles all over the place as the Tomcats come in from Vector and try and take down the MiG-29 or MiG-27, sorry, on that right hand side. MiG-23 MF going to be coming over, getting nowhere near as the Bloodhounds of Commissar get the job done there, looking very cool. I love the way that when they're transported, they don't have the big missile on, and then as they get unloaded, they put the massive missile back on it. It's really, really cool. I'm just trying to shift forwards my recon a little bit here, get the SCP-ELK forwards, because the Freumen, they only have normal optics, whereas these guys have very good optics, and they also have the GSR trait, which when stationary, they get +1 optics level, so they're able to see quite a lot of the infantry in these buildings, and that is going to allow the chieftains of Commissar here to put fire into those buildings constantly. As you can see, I've got some more men on the way. We've got the Home Guards, the HJV, coming up with the military police. These guys do have the reservist trait, which you can remove using military police. So that will make those men more effective if I can keep the military police close enough. But rocket artillery still flying in from the enemy. And just absolutely starting to pound the city to dust. Like, as you zoom in, artillery coming in from our side now. Just insane scenes. And this is just the one cool thing I love about this. It's a bit of a grind, right, pushing through this city, but it always looks epic. And now I've got the men that are going to be grinding forwards, my reservists, ready to go. More Canberra bombing strikes coming in the meantime, and we're going to see some pretty awesome airstrikes later on in the game as well, so definitely keep your eyes peeled for them. Got my own Hawk on the back here. You can see the Bloodhound there. Look at that, absolute beast of an AA unit. Only needs one shot on target to get the kill, and of course needs to be reloaded after every shot. But Commissar here making sure he moves those after he fires so they do not get hit by artillery. So here we go, starting to move a little bit forwards now, because a lot of the infantry that was close up has either been bombed or killed by tanks or artillery. So now trying to exploit that by unloading these Bedfords quite far up. Also got my own artillery coming in. We got the 203s. I'm going to be using these like now, but then I kind of forget about them for a little while, and then I just start using them for counter battering. But very cool big 203mm gun that's going to be really useful for pounding units of infantry that don't move. So in these high rises, if we can hit the base of the high rise, it does do a lot of damage. But more napalm now coming in. And that is certainly going to be a theme of this game. As you can see, the fires are not stopping. All of these buildings getting completely destroyed. And now we're going to be trying to move up and engage the Wachschützen. So in order to capture this sector, we're going to basically have to push our opponents out of the sector entirely. So we've got a ways to go, because most of the time the command is like either here, or it's maybe behind one of these buildings, or it's tucked in the corner. And so those are all areas that you need to have control over in order to stop the enemy from getting commands into the sector and contesting it. And at the moment, as you can see, our opponents are actually at a +3 because we don't have any control over Charlie. Unfortunately, Lightning kind of got pushed out of the right-hand side here. So it's really kind of on us to continue the concentration of forces on this left-hand side to make sure that we can get some ground with it and push our opponents out of the city here, and then we can worry about helping elsewhere. The convoys going backwards and forwards, looking very cool. And we now have the Achilles coming in, the M10. Oh yeah. This only has 6 front armor, but it's got 12 round per minute rate of fire. Pretty good infantry fire support. We've also got the M113, which does bring us the mechanized infantry trait for this deck, which is nice if we're using other IFE infantry. Does have the 25mm. Going to be nice for providing extra fire support for these Home Guard that are currently trying to push through the fire and engage the enemy in these buildings. Yeah, look at these guys trying to get through here. They're moving into that building. Managed to break through. Trouble is, as soon as you jump into a building that's exposed to the open ground on the other side, units like that T-55 and these SPWs start engaging you in the high rises, because the line of sight is so far out. So you've got to be kind of careful taking position in these buildings. And in some cases it's just better to sit behind. You can see these guys are still perfectly fine because they haven't engaged yet. They're still holding their position. Whereas all of the ones that jumped into the buildings, they got wrecked by the machine guns. So sometimes it's not worth moving into the buildings and turning off auto cover so that you can avoid that. Alright, I've got my own tanks on the way anyway. The Centurion's arriving. Centurion Mark 5s. As I mentioned before, the Achilles are here. And those are going to be moving forwards to engage the enemy APCs. So that's what these are going to be really good for cleaning up. Like, they're 45 points. You kill an SPW 70, it's 30 points. You know, that's kind of what they're there to clean up. And they also provide really good fire support against enemy infantry. So pretty solid tank. And then we got the Centurion Mark 5, which again has 12 round per minute rate of fire, so can really help pin down and kill enemy infantry with their HE because they're firing so fast. The one thing I do need more of though is some HGMs further up. If I can get HGMs into these buildings and start popping all of these vehicles, then we'll be in a fantastic spot. But as you can see, the artillery still coming down, more rocket artillery from the other side of the map now, smashing into this town. Another rocket artillery being fired there, but here comes one of the big airstrikes. 3 Canberras, 3 Harriers, and just a massive amount of bombs obliterates the infantry on the left side, the back of the city there. Bloodhounds trying their best to kill the MiG-29. Eventually, something hits, and they go down. Commissar also bringing in his Canberra. One of them did go down previously, but looks like that one should be okay. Didn't manage to get its bombs off though. But look at this city now. All those bombs blowing up the buildings and fire everywhere now. Just continuing to spread. As more artillery comes in on top of it, you would not want to be sent into this meat grinder. Forced through the fire. The poor reservists, some of them not even getting off the trucks. I've never seen this city on fire so much, which is another reason I really wanted to share this today. It is just a complete fire war. Like, just an inferno is probably the correct term. This map turned into an inferno on the left-hand side. Just incredible. So we're still managing to make ground, and as you can see, we cleared out the leader because I assume the bombers managed to hit them on the left-hand side. So they've had to replace that. They've got the Reservistenführer there that just moved in. Mi-8 getting its gun pods on target briefly. Did do a lot of damage to some of the infantry that I had further up. More Centurions on the way. More of the home guard, and this is one thing that Østre has a lot of. It's a lot of sort of spammable units. We have the HJV in large numbers. There's the Centurions in large amounts of numbers. You've also got the Achilles in large amounts, those M10s. And I am now going to be bringing in one of the Drakens. So the F-35, not your new looking F-35, the old one. This is the J-35 technically, just with the Danish designation. That's going to be coming in with the cluster bombs there, looking to kill off some of those tanks, and we do manage to kill off a couple, but unfortunately get shot down afterwards. And more HJVs moving up, and they're going to unload right on top of the enemy. Lucky for me, the Mudschützen must have run out of 80 or something, didn't manage to get line of sight on the Bedfords, and the Pioneers only have the flames there, so HJV just going to be forced to push through those. The military police were staying in range just long enough to help with the cohesion there. We're still struggling to maintain our position as more napalm lands in the soccer field in the middle, or the football field I should say, as a fine Brit. But alas, HJV Continue their engagement. Centurions firing down the road. We're having that engagement against the T-55s. So T-54 AMs, T-55s. Perfect targets actually for the Centurions because we have such good rate of fire. We can outgun them somewhat. They do still do a lot of damage though, so I must respect that. And any ATGMs like you see coming in now are going to be real bad news for these Centurions with their 10 front armor. Going to be taking a lot of cohesion loss and health loss. Next wave moving in, as you can see, I had all of these further back and they were getting fixed up by the MD Jupiters, all Bloodhounds there. Picking off another enemy, MiG-25 RBF, getting taken out. Really nice actually, good kill because of the HE on those bombers. Like they have big 500 kilogram bombs, so they can wipe out a lot of infantry very, very fast if you don't deal with them. We're not going to have to worry about that one anymore. Centurion Mark V again continuing its engagement. See how fast they reload. It's really, really handy just for continuing pressure onto infantry, and that is allowing us to make space again. And you might have noticed that the sector is heading back in our direction. It seems as though the enemy have been cleaned out. So 203 is still sitting back here. Eventually I'm also going to be bringing in an M109 to help out with that. I do have the ladder over here because we didn't actually capture Bravo very quickly at the start, so that was a bit of a problem, and it did put us behind a lot in the game. I mean, we're 1,260 points behind in this 10v10, so we've got some catching up to do. With my HJV, they're trying to get through. I was hoping to maybe get into this tree line. If I could do that, then I could basically see whenever a leader comes in here. But a lot of tanks on the way. And a lot of tanks dead as the cluster hits the mark and wipes out quite a few of those T-54s. That was a nice bombing strike there for sure. Rockets coming in from the DAS. Lots of cool stuff happening here. Now another big airstrike. I was mentioning the airstrikes earlier, how cool they are. Lots of cluster coming down. Gonna hit these T-62s, T-55s very hard. The Harrier GR5s coming in with their bombs as well. Flying very low over the city. Looking super cool. And they managed to get away with that thanks to the Canberra with the EWAR module. So with the EWAR, what it does is it reduces the accuracy of enemy radar by 20%. It also reveals them, allowing you to potentially bomb them as well. But ultimately, these airstrikes are absolutely crucial to allow us to maintain position in the far side of the city, because otherwise these buildings, you know, they're just going to get hit from a distance so much. Su-24 coming in, 22, sorry, with its own cluster strike, takes out one of my M41s, which have now sort of been spread out amongst our troops. The M41s, they actually have a decent amount of range and good optics, so pretty nice. Got some ITOs on the way. I figured that what I need to do at this point is try and get some ATGMs into the right side of the city, like on the outskirts here, just so that we have like line of sight across and we can really cover this road here that the tanks were previously pushing from. I mean, you can just see all the wrecks. Anything on the edge of the town kind of struggling right now. Ito doing its best to get shots on target. But ultimately, you don't want the infantry, or sorry, the HGMs directly in front of the enemy tanks because they're gonna get spotted and killed pretty easily. You want them kind of off to the side, a little bit further away, so they're not seen by enemy recon, and then you're able to get nice solid kills like that. T-62 getting taken down. Now bringing up some Livgarden. These are nice resolute chaps who are ready to help hold the line. Running straight into the fire, but going to relieve the home guard here, which I am going to try and get back and fix up. I do have these MD Jupiters moving around. One problem with the left side of this map, though, is like because of this reinforcement point, a lot of stuff kind of moves around this road over the mountains. It actually takes quite a long time to get into the position, rather than this road that just goes kind of like straight there. We do have a little bit of a problem with like getting forces to the front effectively. Bothers using the football pitch to get some clear line of sight against the MI8 MT. Fortunately, Centurion taken out at the distance, but we're still managing to hold them outside of the city again, which is now pushing us to a +1 since we're contesting India, we're contesting Charlie again. We've actually managed to start contesting Alpha, so great job to our team to get back in there. Ito's now moved up into position, and they will start to keep the enemy at a distance. Now that they're not already close up, it's quite a lot safer for my HDGams to be in these high rises, and therefore we'll be able to stop them getting too close to begin with. Because these do have 2,625 meter range, which is nice. Another MiG-23 MF going down there as the AA hits the mark. Our team had a lot of radar AA here, and Commissar microing his bloodhounds around is certainly helping a lot. One of Commissar's specialities is his one-shot AA. Just retreating any that are getting a bit too low, as the supply will be on the way shortly. We've got those 2 Bedford supplies coming in there, for example. This one's also on the way. I did send up some Centurions up onto the ridge here. I hadn't really seen much of an armor engagement over India, so I thought I would bring my own Centurions to see what's going on. So we're going to be pushing up. We do have this SCP from Eagle following, so I thought we wouldn't be too blind, but unfortunately for me, ATGMs do start flying in, and that is going to be a little problem there. We also need to worry about the fact that leaders do still get into this corner, so I'm trying to get the HJV to move in there and try and cover that off. Ito's still doing a good job of keeping things at a distance. You see, even like just killing these SBW 152Ks and the SBW 70s and so on is pretty important, just to stop them from getting the machine guns on target on any infantry that is outranged by them. Here comes the first of the M109s, and they'll be used for counter battery at some point. Meanwhile, out in the open, the T-72s, or sorry, T-62s, sorry, start engaging me, as well as the Rapira, which was using the ATGM to engage the Centurion. So I do start falling back in the open up on India, but we're going to continue to try and maintain some sort of position in the town, and just having one HJV in here is good enough really for me to make sure that we know if there's an enemy leader in there or not, which is the main thing, because artillery will do the job. We don't necessarily need the HJV to kill the leader if one moves into that position. So now Livgarden up against the KDA Schutzen. Livgarden definitely going to be a lot better in that situation. They got the 2 submachine guns, they do have the Resolute trait, so the KDA Schutzen struggling to get damage done. Also, the Achilles firing away certainly helps. Really like the sound of the Achilles firing, it sounds super cool. Just try and stay near it when it fires. Though this one might end up getting killed shortly as it's zooming forwards. Livgarden eventually go down under machine gun fire. Here we go. You can kind of hear it. There's just a lot of explosions going on right now. So much artillery, so many rockets, the bombers, the flames, everything just absolutely brutal right now. HJV holding the line pretty well. Nice chunky squads, that's for sure. Also got one of my M41s over here now. This is the little recon variant of this tank. Really good. 60% accurate, 2,100 meter range. I actually really like them a lot. And they don't have the same fuel problems that they had in Wargame Red Dragon, so that's nice. So we're really starting to get the better of our opponents on the left-hand side here, which is great. Stopping them from getting into the city altogether. The Age of Gems kind of holding them at a distance, but as you can see, the supply in the middle is a little bit lacking. I have got supply sort of on the flanks here. I've got a supply for an Ihawk so that I can keep the AA running. I've got the supply for the I-2 on the right so that we can pop any units that come out on this side. They have now managed to get another leader in there. Some more M10s on the way. Now the Centurion Mark 5-2, which has the extra range but less rate of fire. And that should help us do a little bit more damage, but got to take care of the Reservistenführer. That's the next big challenge. It does get cleaned up by the mortar. Now we got the waves of KDA Schützen pushing into the city. I mean, imagine you're coming in from this direction and that is your view, and you're told as a soldier to go here. That is not a good look. Like, that is just incredible. And now you got the bomber coming in as well, the Canberra. That had both the HE and cluster. Does end up getting shot down. Like, our side of the city was actually relatively okay because we managed to get the line of infantry up quite far. The nice thing about having the HAV here is, as I mentioned earlier, we can tell where the command's going to be. So because this HAV hadn't spotted the leader, we knew it was like on the right side. Obviously the way that the sector gets captured also kind of tells you roughly where the enemy leader is as well, but it definitely helps you pinpoint where it is and where it's staying. Age of Gems still finding use, which is great. Killing off any fire support weapon potential from our opponents. Here comes some nasty rocket artillery to take out my poor special forces. They get destroyed. Tanks just arrived. We're getting a little bit light now on this left-hand side. Going to be bringing up some more 40 mils, these Bofors, to help with the MI8s that keep turning up. We got some more supply on the way. I've also got my F-35s coming in. We've got a HE1, which is going in for the dive onto the KDA. Fortunately, lose line of sight, but I am going for the cluster now onto the T-80. So we're going to hit that. We're going to try and get out of there. The HE1 did end up getting shot down, but the cluster one managed to survive. So a severe lack now of AA from our opponents. You see now these are on counter battery, so I kind of just was really tempted to see what would happen if I just put the 203s and the M109s on counter battery in a 10v10. See how many people who are lazy we could just kill, but by pure counter battery. Because now you've got to actually be way more careful with your artillery than you used to be, because as soon as your artillery fires, the counter battery will start aiming, and you only have a certain amount of seconds before you can move. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. Like, you might not necessarily die, depending on how far away you're being shot from. The dispersion might be a bit much, but still something that you need to pay attention to, and you don't want your artillery to like suffer cohesion loss, because sometimes it can take quite a long time to recover. Either way, more KDA Schützen being unloaded and forced into this city. Just look at that view. All the rockets coming over. The infantry trying to push forwards. It's just insane. There's the leader. The leader's managed to get in there. Yeah. MiG-23 trying its luck, that's for sure. Missiles out of everywhere trying to hit that. It is going to get away with it. That's pretty incredible. There's some more military police on the way. Centurions trying to hold things at a distance here. More engineers are going to be needed to break down the number of infantry here. I'm also going to be attack moving the Bofors forward so that that can help engage this infantry on the ground. The team's done a good job of taking India. A lot of my sort of tanks here were just idle for the majority of the game now because 2 of them were damaged. The last 2 were just left there to hold the line. See the setup mechanic of the artillery. So it takes a little while for them to be ready to fire, and then they'll start aiming. And that's just on a counter battery order now, which will automatically target the last place an artillery fired. Also now got an M41 heading to the right hand side, so I figured since there's not too much resistance here, yeah, they're sending in like waves of infantry, but the infantry are getting all mowed down. I thought it might be an idea to start like helping reinforce the right side so that we could take back Alpha and get a bit ahead on the score, because we're currently on a +2, but it's still going to take us a while to get ahead on score, and everything can change, of course. More artillery coming in, more rockets. Engineers going to try and make a little bit of ground on the far side of the city. Going past the wreck of it. MI-26. Aircraft flying overhead there. Very cool. Yeah, our range, the engineers with the HE cardboard staff are really, really nice against enemy infantry. Of course, in this case, we're being smashed by the Mi-8TB, which is one of the reasons that I wanted to get the 40 mils forwards. Because whilst I do have AA infantry, I think they're just like red eyes. They're not particularly reliable, because the Bofors aren't really either. Just going to be getting them out the high rise so that the Mi-8TB doesn't kill them. And these engineers are going to try and retreat ASAP. You can see here the Centurion Mark 5.2s coming in to reinforce the right. My M41 is sort of my recon that will lead the charge. It's currently just sat in the open. It's a bit risky, but probably not worth a full volley to kill from an artillery unit, so we've got that going for it. I think in the end, the fact that like Vector was here backing me up on the ground was really nice. And then Commissar also had some of his units hanging about. We also had a big push up on the left here, which is a pretty good flank just to kind of keep them busy. You can see like there's a lot of tanks and stuff here that are being forced to deal with this, because otherwise they're going to get flanked on the push into the left side of the city. So this was a nice distraction, which certainly helped keep some of the pressure off this engagement. The remainder of the Home Guard, they're going to be doing a runner whilst the Centurion engages the T-55. Really hoping that we'd be able to kill those with the Centurion, but we just kept missing. I've got the M41 here also getting involved. And that wasn't doing too well either. Again, 60% accuracy. Just get missing, even with the 12 round kind of rate of fire. So the artillery is still counter battery, still ready to take out any enemies who fire. More napalm coming in now. Poor Home Guard's gonna have to continue running. I do have the supply truck behind the building, so that's got 1,500 supply, able to get these guys back on their feet a little bit. But here comes the tanks. I've also got some of my Speeder coming in. These are like the home guard or reservist recon units. They're going to be sort of leading the charge on the ground to make sure we don't get killed by enemy infantry as we push up on that side. Now here come the Stingers. So we did have Stingers, yeah. I probably should have had them in sooner to take out the MI8 TPs, because those rockets had been doing a decent amount of damage to me throughout this engagement. I was just too reliant on the Bofors. I just think the Bofors are really cool, and they sound cool as well. Also in India, I did end up moving up my Centurion to this tree line. I kind of drove it down the hill because we have control over this city. I drove it down here, ready to help ambush anything that maybe tries to counter push into India, and I've also got my Mark 41 or M41 moved up into a better position. Now here goes the Bofors, trying its best. It's a real bad time for the M8, but able to land and get behind the trees. They do have some supply behind there that's going to keep fixing that up and giving it more rockets. That's why it was such a nuisance. Got my cluster plane coming in. Just dropping a cluster in between to maybe get some damage onto both of those. I end up killing the one that was low health, damaging the other. I'm also now going to be bringing in my F-18. This division does get a decent amount of F-18s. That was already brought in, sorry. We'll be bringing that out again at some point, but it does have those two seed missiles, so anti-radiation takes out radar AA for you. Really cool. More infantry is going to be needed here, though. Yes, the attack's kind of been defeated for the most part, but we can't really let our guard down. So I do need to reinforce that. And I'm also now making an attack on this side, kind of leading the charge with the Danish forces. Centurion Mark 5s, the recon infantry. Just on attack moves forwards for the time being. And I've also got the M41s coming in to back us up, as a bunch of Challenger 2s from Commissar arrive as well. I did have to back these guys up because the Conquers were starting to hit them pretty hard in the front armor, but we're starting to spur on our team to try and take back this sector. M41s moving up into position to try and hold the ground. Going to be engaging that T-62. We're not going to do like too much damage to a T-62 with its 11 front armor, but as I mentioned before, rate of fire is massive here. And you can see we are able to beat them. That was like a 3v1 technically, so not too bad. Right, everything's starting to happen over on the right side now as the whole team kind of comes together to get the push going. We got Anna here, we got Lightning Bro, we got Commissar. I think McShav was over here as well at some point. But more of my tanks on the way, more of everyone's tanks on the way. We're really starting to break down the forces of the enemy. These M41s trying to hold a little bit further up. If I can use the cover here to sort of ambush the T-62s, then we can get the jump on them, lower their cohesion with the first shot, and then keep following up with successive shots. Now here's the F-18 coming in again to help try and clear out radar. So I'm trying to zoom in on it. There we go. The way to zoom in on things, I get asked this occasionally. If you just use your scroll wheel and scroll over something, it will start following it. And if you hold middle mouse button, you can rotate the camera while looking at them. In that case, didn't manage to get any targets, but the Centurions going to continue the push. Got to be careful of infantry, of course. The Sapori and the Morostraki there. A little bit of a threat to the M41, so going to need a bit of an infantry line to come in front. So just bringing in the remainder of my reservists. We got the 4 HJV and the 2 military police. Again, the military police kind of important to remove the reservist trait and increase the effectiveness of those infantry. Artillery still sat here on counter battery, and the Roland's there doing a good job shooting down that aircraft. So yeah, everything now coming to a head on this right hand side as we now almost push ahead on score as a team. Large amounts of forces pushing forwards, loads of Leopards here with Jaguars. You got the Gazelles in here. You got the Challenger 2s moving forwards. Just such a broad range of tanks. M48, my Centurion, the M41, Leopard C1s. So the Canadians in there. So many different factions as well, like German, Danish, Canadian, British, and probably some Americans in here somewhere. Some French, there you go. Crazy. Actually, no Americans to be seen, I think, on this right-hand side. The pure European coalition, right, apart from the Canadians, are moving in to engage all of these forces and looking very cool. Absolutely just sweeping through now. Just a massive attack order coming through with all of these troops. And it's just slowly sweeping them out of that one. They're still trying to contest us a little bit on the city side, but as you can see, the fires have now all gone out. And things starting to settle down a little bit. The city in the middle has been secured, and now all of the tanks are going to be coming in from this side. And all of the tanks are coming in from this side, so now a huge pincer attack is going to start coming in on Charlie. Got the Danish Leopard 1s pushing in. We're just going to catch these guys completely off guard. Really nice turn here from Warm Conehead to try and push into that sector. And you can see that I'm going to be joining Anna with my tanks as we now push from right to left into the same sector. Definitely makes more sense than trying to push across this massive open field towards Gulf, which is closer to their spawn. Like coming across here and kind of helping clean out the backside of Charlie is pretty good choice, honestly. Bringing up some Panzerspeeder. They're going to be used to try and secure the corner of this sector again, as we did lose eyes there. Electric Voodoo coming in, really cool aircraft. Canadian E-Warplane. Gonna be spotting enemy radar AA and leading for the Canadian F-18s. At the home guard. I love the scale of WARNO, I really do. You look into the distance, I mean, just look at that. It's incredible. That aircraft gonna get shot down. Infantry running across the open, the tanks pushing across here. A Leopard with the Centurion ready to try and engage the Conkers. Conehead's attacks being broken down, but he has managed to destroy a lot of stuff on the backside of that sector. Just a huge movement of troops looking to help finish off the game with a +3 on the board. A new wave of enemies arrives on the city side of things. The Panzerspeeder by the nice lake, engaging Aufgabe at a distance. Fortunately getting shots from the the T-80 onto them, which certainly doesn't help. Just an epic game. I did have a supply here to fix up a bunch of my tanks, and those will be moving forwards shortly. But I've also sent a bunch of troops up to the front just to kind of hold the line to prevent any counterattacks from coming through, since we kind of sent the rest of my forces over to this side, and all of my cheaper tanks and such did end up getting broken down. So it's really just on Anna here to continue the push with the M48s, the Jaguars and the Leopards. Conehead's bringing up some new Leopard 1A5s. Fox has arrived with the Leopard 2A3s. Slowly but surely cleaning out the remainder of the forces in this sector. We will be capturing that artillery. Still blasting away. My M109s ran out of shells doing their counter batteries, so they're going to be heading back to a fob to get some more. But it does sort of mean that potentially we got some good kills there. I was surprised that they managed to stay alive on the counter battery order for so long, if I'm honest. Usually they would get killed by counter battery from like cluster rockets or just other howitzers firing at them. But it might have been because I was waiting for the enemy to fire first all the time. I was able to take advantage of that. Tornado chasing the Su-22, that was very cool. And there we have it. Charlie is secured. Really good job by the team there to pull together, take Alpha and then Charlie immediately after. I loved the pincer onto Charlie. It's so cool. And now it's only really the town here on my side of things that is proving difficult to lock down, because I kind of didn't have anything left that could reach out from the town. Like, most of my ATGMs are dead by this point, all of my armor's dead, so I can't keep them at a distance very easily, and that's obviously an issue. Because the enemy leader's probably in the corner there. I think at some point I do send some 203 artillery towards that. A lot of my resources are also still over here. My remaining special forces, the Livgarden, we've got the tanks here as well. Just don't have that much more to give on that left hand side. A few more tanks arriving. Got a leader with those as well, might as well. Going to be bringing up the Drakons again. Looking for a cheeky airstrike. Cluster's going in to the corner with the HE. Hoping to clean that out. So cluster goes in. I'm also going to be using the rockets to engage the Book and an Osa there. Loads of Osas on that right hand side. Does end up getting one of my rocket planes shot down, and the second one swiftly follows. Very costly air attack. All of the Drakons died, but it did take out the leader, and we did take out a couple of those important anti-air targets. This is something that I was trying to point out with another of the decks, was that the rocket planes are really good if combined with like E-War or Seed. Really interesting aircraft this, the Bronco. Comes in with the new US Marines. Not too much of a challenge for the radar AA to shoot down. But there we have it, with the +5 on the board, soon to be a +7, I think. Game will end shortly as my Centurions arrive. +6 total, but alas, job done. 2,500 points on the board, and that is a victory. What a fantastic game it was. Just so many incredible moments from like the beginning 20-30 minutes of just fighting over that city and it being like purely in flames for the almost entire time, to it then changing to an entirely massive tank force that sort of pincered into that one open sector in the middle. Yeah, fantastic game. Really, really cool. 8,375 kills to 7,080 losses for myself. I actually had almost the most losses on the team because of the way that I'm playing that deck. It's a really sort of a deck that has a lot of attrition because of the HJV and the way that I've built it. But the Ito really doing a great job for us. The planes were actually not too bad. You can see some of the kills that the artillery got when it was on counter battery, especially managed to kill the BM-21 Napalm, which is a huge target for us to kill with counter battery. M109 taking out a couple 120mm mortars and the Malka and Nakatsaya, so that's really good as well. Yeah, the counter battery doing fantastic. I think the tank fire support was actually not bad either, even though it wasn't too effective against other tanks. You can see that just one killing a Mochutsen is worth it, for example. So yeah, very attritional deck, the Østre Landsdelskommando, but great fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.